In August 1994, only days after the war had come to an end, Ian Redmond and Dieter Steklitz from the Dian Fossey Guerrilla Fund International went back to Rwanda. Their plan was to rescue the park staff who had been forced to flee and were now in refugee camps in Zaire. They were also anxious to find out how the guerrillas had been affected by the war. Their hazardous journey was filmed by the BBC for a nature special.
We drove down from Uganda, across the border, not knowing what we were going to find. Travelling through Rwanda, through the roadblocks, past the bodies in the ditches. So it was a country that stank of death. Every one of my Rwandan friends had lost some member of their family, some of them most of their family. And that really was an awful period. It was obvious the surrounding area was being stripped of its forest, of its wood. And you can't blame the people. That it's cold, it's wet, they need to cook food and keep warm. But in just trying to survive, they were destroying the surrounding forest. And we knew that hungry people would be buying bushmeat, and if we didn't get some sort of protection in there quickly, then the park would be awash with snares and hunters killing antelope and buffalo, even if they weren't targeting guerrillas. So we wanted to get the conservation work restarted before the poachers got organised, and they would be quick off the mark.
After days of searching, Ian Redmond and Dieter Steklitz finally tracked down some of the park staff. It was critical that they were brought back to the park quickly to prevent the widespread killing of guerrillas.
Because the knowledge that's in the heads of all the trackers and guides and rangers is what's the future of those guerrillas depend on. And so looking after our friends and getting them back to work was one thing. And to go into the forest, which many people would see as being kind of an alien environment, hostile, felt actually like walking back into the Garden of Eden. It was just wonderful. This sort of oppression lifted. We were back with the smells and the sounds of the forest. And we got up to the research centre and found that the buildings had been trashed and that possessions had been stolen or destroyed, and it was a mess, but there were still cabins there then.
It was heartbreaking for Ian and Dieter. The research centre was in ruins, but their biggest concern was whether any of the park's guerrillas had been killed.
We had somewhere to stay, and we went out the next day to find one of the guerrilla groups.
Ian was filled with apprehension as he hiked in search of the guerrillas.
And there they were, just going about their business in the forest. It was wonderful to see them.
To his great relief, he had been able to locate and identify more and more of his guerrilla friends, one by one. Over the years of unrest, more than 20 had disappeared, but that was far fewer than most people had expected. It may well be that most of the guerrillas had been able to flee and so had avoided the crossfire. But now they were back, and Ian and Dieter were able to reinstate park staff and restart patrols by guards before poachers were able to resume their hunting. The guerrillas were now protected once again.